Good evening, you're tuning in to AWANI Tonight with me, Faye Kwan. Former police commando Azila Hajri has avoided the death penalty for the murder of Mongolian model Ratan Tata in 2006. The federal court replaced his death sentence with 40 years of imprisonment and 12 strokes of the cane. Azila has been on the death row for the past 9 years. He was the chief inspector with the police's Special Action Unit when charged in 2006 with the murder. In 2015, the federal court decided that both he and fellow police commando Sirul Azhar Umar are guilty of the crime. At the time of conviction, the punishment under Section 302 of the Penal Code was a mandatory death sentence. After law reforms in 2023, the courts have the discretion to decide whether to sentence a person with the death penalty or between 30 to 40 years of jail and at least 12 strokes of the cane. Meanwhile, the federal court was also informed on Thursday morning that Ratan Tata's family has forgiven her killer. 28-year-old Ratan Tata was murdered in a deserted area in Shah Alam in October 2006, with her remains blown up with military-grade explosives. A 49-year-old woman believed to be mentally ill has been remanded for 4 days after crashing into 2 motorcycles, resulting in the deaths of 3 UiTM Dungun students. The crash in front of the UiTM campus claimed the lives of 25-year-old student Muhammad Akmal Muhammad Tukirin, as well as 20-year-olds Gu Adib Aizat Gu Azmi and Khairil Anwar Jamaluddin. Another student was critically injured in the incident and remains in hospital for treatment. The driver reportedly rear-ended the students, resulting in fatal injuries, including broken necks and severe head trauma. She was arrested at the scene, but new information suggests she was mentally unstable at the time of the crash. The suspect, who was driving an SUV at the time of the incident on Wednesday evening, is being investigated under Section 41(1) of the Road Transport Act 1987. The CEO of Global Equine Services and Business Holdings, GISB, is among 16 individuals recently rearrested under the Security Offences Special Measures Act, or SOSMA. Federal Criminal Investigation Department Director Dato' Sri Muhammad Shuhaili Muhammad Zain says to date, a total of 58 GISB members have been detained under the act. Shuhaili also revealed that Bukit Aman has received information on 23 assets belonging to GISB in over 10 countries worth about 52.4 million ringgit. He said the total of 97 investigation papers have been opened since the police launched Ops Global last month, with 12 of them leading to prosecutions involving 9 individuals. These individuals face a total of 34 charges under various acts, including the Sexual Offences Against Children Act and the Penal Code. The total number of victims now stands at 625, he said, with 553 victims placed in 13 shelter homes under the Welfare Department and 72 others handed over to their respective families. Separately, Education Minister Fadlina Siddiq said the children from GISB-linked care homes are doing well under the Education Ministry's new program, which began on October 1st. Vape stickers or sleeves used to disguise vape devices as common household brands do not fall under the Health Ministry's jurisdiction under the Control of Smoking Products for Public Health Act 2024 or Act 852. Health Minister Datuk Sri Dr. Zulkifli Ahmad says his ministry will not ban the products but will conduct further investigations into their use.
The matter was brought forth by health and consumer groups afraid of such vapes being exposed to minors and calling for government intervention. The vape sleeves sold on e-commerce sites like Shopee and Lazada are designed to disguise vape devices as everyday items like markers, highlighters, glue sticks and candy bars. Zul also responded to complaints by sundry shop owners on the financial implications of implementing a display ban on tobacco and vape products, which they claim can cost nearly 300 million ringgit. Zul explained that businesses only need to cover up their tobacco product displays to comply with the new regulations by simply putting up a screen on the display cabinet that shouldn't cost them that much. From October 1st, Act 852 makes it illegal to sell any smoking products, including e-cigarettes and vape devices, to minors.
The newly enforced Control of Smoking Products for Public Health Act 2024, or Act 852, introduces stricter regulations on the sale, advertising and prohibition of smoking in public places. Azrul Muhammad Khalib from the Galen Centre for Health and Social Policy weighs in on whether these new measures are enough to curb smoking habits among Malaysians.
In the new regulations that have been gazetted recently, is the inclusion of vape to be on the same level as that of smoking products such as tobacco products and cigarettes. And this is very important because it automatically treats vape and e-cigarettes at a similar level that you would expect cigarettes and tobacco products to. And also, most importantly, which is the closing of the loophole for which last year the deregulation of liquid nicotine for vape and e-cigarettes from the poisons schedule resulted in these products being widely available and legally able to be sold and bought by children and generally people who are underage or minors. And this is one of the main problems that we saw resulting from that policy move last year, which these regulations now are able to address, and most importantly, is able to be at the same level as cigarettes and tobacco.
However, relying solely on enforcement officers is not enough to deter smoking. Azrul said the community must also play an active role in supporting such efforts.
You can put as many restrictions as you want. You can put how many bans in areas that you would want to have. But at the end of the day, people still want to smoke. People still want to vape or puff their e-cigarettes, and they will do so. They will do it outside the building. They'll do it across the road. They'll do whatever reasons and whereabouts that they will. But the fact of the matter is, it still goes back to the individual whether or not they want to smoke or vape. Enforcement, at the end of the day, has limitations, and we can't have enforcers everywhere. And at the end of the day, we ourselves as consumers, as individuals who enjoy public spaces, must also do our part to engage.
Smoking prevalence in Malaysia remains stagnant. This is alongside a rise in the use of vapes and e-cigarettes, especially among youths and women. Azrul stresses the need to move beyond punitive measures, urging a stronger focus on education.
I see that at least for the next 5 years, our struggle is not just to deal with a large population of smokers, but also to address a growing large population of people who are newly addicted to nicotine through vape and e-cigarettes. And that's a problem for the next 5 years at least. And today we have regulations which allow us to manage that issue, to put into place controls to prevent and manage the problem. But unfortunately, if we do not enforce, we do not educate, we do not help create that enabling environment to ensure that the regulations work, then they will ultimately be unsuccessful, because there will be a lack of cooperation, there's a lack of understanding, but most importantly, the willingness to make the regulations work. It's in Malaysia's and Malaysians' best interest that we reduce the prevalence of not just smoking, but also vaping and e-cigarettes. And that's very important for us to state as an objective in the next couple of years, because it is not a solution. It is yet another problem that we actually have to address. And the good news is the regulations, the act that was gazetted early this year and the regulations that has just been gazetted a few days ago give a pathway for us to be able to look forward to reducing the prevalence of both smoking and vaping in the near future.
We'll be back with more after the break. Stay tuned.
rambut gugur lagi? Macam mana Gunakan Pantene baharu dengan provitamin mikro yang meresap dan menguatkan rambut dari dalam. Rambut 10 kali lebih kuat terhadap rambut gugur. Pantene baharu.
Representatives from Hamas and Fatah agreed to form a temporary non-political committee to manage life services in the Gaza Strip. The agreement was reached in Cairo following a meeting held under Egyptian sponsorship.
The proposed committee will include 10 to 15 members not affiliated with either faction. Their nomination is pending further discussion. The leaders also discussed plans for cooperation after the war in Gaza. The talks are the first since the two groups met in China in July and agreed steps to form a Palestinian unity government for Gaza and the occupied West Bank. They are also a part of a long-running and previously unsuccessful efforts to heal a schism that hardened when Hamas seized control of Gaza in a brief conflict with Fatah in 2007.
The body of former Tata Group chairman Ratan Tata has been brought to his residence from the Breach Candy Hospital in Mumbai. The Tata Group released a statement confirming his death at the age of 86 earlier today.
Tata, who ran the conglomerate for more than 20 years as chairman, had been undergoing intensive care in a Mumbai hospital. After graduating with a degree in architecture at Cornell University, Tata returned to India and in 1962 began working for the group his great-grandfather had founded nearly a century earlier. He worked in several Tata companies including Telco, now Tata Motors Limited as well as Tata Steel Limited, later making his mark by erasing losses and increasing market share at Group Unit National Radio and Electronics Company.
Meanwhile, over in the US, Hurricane Milton has made landfall in Florida, bringing with it floods, tornadoes, and the risk of storm surges. Several deaths have been reported along the Atlantic coast, while over 3 million people are without power.
Initially a Category 5 hurricane, Milton has since been downgraded to Category 1, but is still wreaking havoc across the state. Authorities warned that power and communication outages could last for weeks. The storm is expected to move inland, with tourist hub Orlando in its path, before crossing the Florida Peninsula overnight and re-entering the Atlantic. Milton comes just 2 weeks after Hurricane Helene claimed 225 lives across the U.S., including Florida, Georgia, Tennessee, and North Carolina.
Tennis legend Rafael Nadal announces his retirement at 38 after winning 22 Grand Slam titles. He will represent his home country Spain in his final tournament at the Davis Cup Finals this November in Malaga. Nadal's career highlights include a record 14 French Open titles, 63 clay court victories, and winning 81 consecutive matches on clay courts from 2005 to 2007, earning him the title the King of Clay. He is also a four-time US Open champion and won both the Australian Open and Wimbledon twice. Nadal's 23-year career, however, has been hampered by injuries, barely playing over the past 2 seasons and even suggesting last year that he could retire at the end of the 2024 season. Nadal said he was excited to represent his country for the last time, reminiscing his Davis Cup final in Sevilla in 2004. The Davis Cup knockout phase will be played from November 19th to 24th. That wraps up AWANI Tonight. I'm Faye Kwan. Thank you for watching and good night.